SoundCloud. All right. Welcome to this week's episode of the Rutledge Perspective. And y'all are going to be so excited to hear from this woman. So I am pleased to have Bibi Goldstein on my show. And Bibi is not only one of my coaches, she's gotten to be a really good friend of mine. And she is also a person that I use to help me run my business, even just from a perspective of getting stuff done. And Bibi's the one that kept asking me, Laurel, why are you doing that? Laurel, why are you doing that? And when I kept saying, I have to do my website myself, I have to do the posting myself, she's like, okay. And then I called her and said, okay, Bibi, I'm ready. And she just smiled. So you are going to hear so much about her and how she really helps people do what I did, let go of the stuff you shouldn't be doing, and how she supports them. So let me give you a little bit about her background, and then we will dive right in. So Bibi is the founder and CEO of Buying Time LLC, which is a virtual administrative support solution for entrepreneurs. She is a time management and systems expert, and I can speak to that. She's a speaker, author, and works with many entrepreneurs to automate and systemize their businesses in order to maximize their time. Now, before starting her own virtual assistant service business, Buying Time, she spent 22 years in the corporate world working for companies like North American Logistics and UPS Supply Chain. And during her time with UPS as national vendor manager, she had the highest performing center while being the youngest and only female manager amongst her peers. In addition to helping businesses with expert implementation and virtual administrative jobs, she is also a regular speaker and workshop facilitator. And Bibi is an active member of her business community in the South Bay. She currently is the chair for 2 local nonprofit major fundraising events, the SBBWA South Bay Women's Conference and Walk with Sally's White Light, White Night event. And she also serves as a board member for the Manhattan Beach and Redondo Beach Chambers of Commerce. Bibi, thank you. It's taken us a while to get here, to get on our calendars, but thank you for being on the show.
I'm very excited to be on the show. I just love you so much. And I just think what you're doing for the world is a fantastic thing. So
thank you so much. And I would not be here without you. So full disclosure, guys, when I started, many of you know my story, and I started doing video by going to It Factor. And Bibi is one of the coaches, of course, with Inspired Living, which is my mastermind group. And I went to meet with Bibi, and we were talking about some of the coaching I wanted to do and things that I wanted to have happen. And she was asking me about my business. And she said, and as I was talking to her about what I did, she said, oh, so you talk people out of their rut or off the ledge. I'm like, Nirvana. That was it. So that tagline that you see on my website, that came from the brain of Bibi, and it ties into my name, Rutledge. So it's just perfect. So anyway, so Bibi, enough about me and my excitement for having you. Let's talk about buying time, because that is such a significant thing that people forget to do, that you don't have to do everything. Even in the beginning, right? Be very mindful. So talk to me about how you started doing that.
Well, the evolution of my business has been a little crazy. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I started this business almost 14 years ago. It was 2007.
That's great.
February of 2007 is when we officially started the business. But back in 2006, I had left the big corporate UPS job and went to a same industry, but went to a smaller company. Well, as you know, being an HR professional,
yes,
the problems in the big company are magnified.
Yes.
In a smaller company.
Yes, they are.
And you know, it was one of those moments, and I had been traveling a lot the previous year, and that was the reason that I had taken this job, was that it was going to keep me a little bit more stationary. My father passed away back in 2000. This is 2005 at the time. My mom started driving late.
Yes.
Immigrant, doesn't speak great English.
Yes.
And wasn't ever a good driver from the beginning.
Oh no.
And as she got older, it got worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so she quite literally in the grocery store parking lot backed her little Volkswagen Rabbit right on top of the front end of another car. So we had to take her license away.
Oh no.
And so I tried to find somebody local who could help her pay bills, get her groceries, do that kind of thing. Because we were traveling, and there's 5 of us kids,
right?
You know, well, only one of them lives out of state. Everybody else was within, 30 minutes or so. It's funny because in LA we talk in minutes.
Texas too. Yeah, it's all in minutes, not
it's
in
all in minutes.
Yes.
So we were in a situation where it was like, okay, we got to find somebody. And I was amazed that in an area that really like heavily with actors and especially where my mom lives,
right,
that there wasn't something like that. So that started in 2005. I took this other job in 2006, and that whole year that I was at this other job, I kept like trying to figure out there's gotta be something,
right,
and there wasn't. So me and a friend started Buying Time. We started it as a personal assistant service.
Okay.
We used to walk dogs, pick up dry cleaning, pick up groceries, do organizing. We did it all.
Yes.
And we used to have a tagline that said that we do anything you don't have time to do as long as it's legal.
Oh, I love that. Well, that's great.
We had somebody actually ask us to do their online traffic school for them. And it's funny because like, we didn't know. And so we were like, sure, no problem. 8 hours of sitting in front of my computer. But the first thing that pops up when it comes up says that you're committing perjury if you aren't the person. We like immediately shut it down. So we started the business. At that point, again, doing personal assistant type of things. We slowly evolved into the virtual world. We had a client who was an attorney who we were doing personal assistant stuff for. And then we kind of got into this place where she was like, I have a PowerPoint I'm speaking. Can you help me with that? And I'm like, I worked on that stuff when I was in corporate. I could totally do it. Yes. And then that kind of evolved into more. And she was like, I have my own. I'm going away from the billable hardcore law firm and starting my own thing. Can you guys be my, assistants and take care of my intake calls and do all of these things? And I just like started figuring all this stuff out. Fast forward to probably, it was probably about 2010.
Okay.
At that point, and me and the business partner had a falling out. Probably one of my biggest regrets in this business overall from a personal perspective, because we were friends, and more importantly, our husbands were friends, and for a long time, and so that affected that. 2011, we went our separate ways, and we've been exclusively virtual since 2015.
Wow.
We have built a clientele of a little over 200 clients now.
That's awesome.
Our team is they're 100% employees,
right?
And we have 17 members right now. We've grown from the traditional virtual assistant helping with customer service, doing a variety of online tasks, doing your email marketing, that kind of stuff, to having a full-time web developer on our team, having a graphic designer on our team, and doing full service bookkeeping now. So we have QuickBooks certified, we're Infusionsoft certified. So we have really kind of come to this world. I didn't even know what a VA was. I'm ignorant in that, but it was amazing to realize. And, my big thing was, wait a second. So we can provide jobs,
right,
so that people can stay home and work.
Right.
And remember, this is pre our current
COVID,
surge,
right.
and we were in that situation, and we were like, this is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Let's do this, and so very, very proud of the team that we've built. We try very much to have a fun culture with our clients, while still getting things done. And so far it's worked.
Yeah. Well, and I can attest to that, because I know there are things that I would not have done. I wouldn't have a website without buying time. I wouldn't have, well, I probably would have something, but it would not be functioning. I wouldn't be able to get people to pay me. None of that stuff.
Right.
Or I would have spent so much time trying to learn the details of that you don't get to work on the stuff where your zone of genius is.
Yeah.
And, and normally I really want to spend time like on the journey and how you got there. But there were a couple of things you said, Bibi, that I want to dive into, because people that listen also are looking at, yes, career and how I make those decisions, but there are also some entrepreneurs that are listening. And with two of the things you said, it doesn't matter if you are in a business and you're building a business, or if you are really just leading your own career, either inside somewhere or in something small. There are two things you said that I think are really critical, that people understand the experience and how you got through them. One of them was the partnering, and how that dissolved in a way that was hurtful, but it did have to dissolve. And then the other was this building of your team, right? Moving from virtual. And just because I know you, I know that combination of, contractor and employee, and really being mindful and very, very detail oriented about being sure you do the right thing there, especially in California.
Yeah.
So maybe start with the whole, I partnered with someone and how that worked, and just from a relationship perspective and where you had to dig deep, because it's important for folks to know people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? As the old saying goes. And the hard thing for leaders is sometimes making that tough decision that says, I still love this person, I still like this person, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we still need to have this professional relationship. So maybe talk about that a little bit, if you can.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I kind of have to I want to make sure that ownership of my own actions
Beautiful. Yes.
is crucial in all of this.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
When I started this business, when I first thought about starting this business, my brother and my husband begged me to do it on my own. But us women,
right?
We got so much fear in us.
Yes.
There was so much of this, I can't do this on my own. There's no way I could do this on my own. And the person that I partnered with was the wife of my husband's closest friend since they were 12 years old.
Wow.
I come from a really hardcore corporate world.
Yes.
You said it in the intro, and I try to remind people of this all the time. I was in a, male dominated industry.
Yes.
That I don't even know how to even explain it in the way that people would understand. UPS, North American, all of these large companies I worked for had thousands of employees.
Yes.
Now, if you could understand for just even a second that at the level that I was at,
yes,
for every probably 50 employees, one was a woman.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Especially when you're talking about that. Yeah. And even today, it's hard to find them. Yes, I get it. Yep.
Right. And so I was a really harsh individual.
Because you had to be, or felt like you had to be to survive. Yes.
Being in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still not as harsh as they were,
Right.
as most of my counterparts
Right.
were.
Right.
But you had to be to some degree, you know, and that didn't fare well for me as with a partner.
Right.
You know, I had a tendency to speak in a super condescending way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had a tendency to not take ownership for the things that I created, that then created challenges.
Right.
You know, so I was really good at training. I was really good at leading people to where they wanted to be. But my interpersonal skills were awful. Yeah. Awful. And I take ownership of that. Combine that with my partner's drive in business versus family.
Right. Right.
She was very focused on her family. She was a mother late in life, and that's great. And I applaud that. Right. I was a mother very early in life. So I had a teenage child at that point. Right. And so
perspectives were different.
Right. Completely. And so, you know, the thing that I would say that I would do differently now is look in the mirror a little bit more often. Create more opportunities for dialogue. And I would, if I had to do it all over again, I would have done this business on my own.
Yeah.
I would have done it because my vision, our visions weren't aligned.
Right. Right.
Our visions weren't aligned. She wanted to make enough money to spend time with her family and do her thing. And I wanted to build something. Yes. You know?
Right.
I remember standing in front of a group that I was in a coaching program, and it was a speaking, you know, speak from the stage kind of program that taught you more of that. And I remember the coach sitting in the back of the room, and she said, "What do you want? What is it that you're trying to do?" And she's like, "No camera, there's nothing on, just stop for a second. Just answer that for us. What do you want?" And like, I stopped, my whole body just kind of relaxed. And I remember looking at her and going, I want to build a freaking empire. Like, I want to build something.
Yes.
And that was that moment that I recognized that I should have said that early on. And the two of us would have then figured out either how do we make both of our visions work, or maybe this isn't a good idea.
Right. Right.
So
there's so much power in that.
That was huge.
Yeah. There's so much power in that. And I think, you know, a few things you said, we do have so much fear, right? We have so much fear, and especially jumping out of, even when it's a bad situation, the stability of corporate for the most part. Depending on which corporate you're in, right? But it does that stability of a paycheck. You know it's coming. They may decrease it, they may do something, but you know one is coming every 2 weeks or what have you. To that leap and am I good enough and all that stuff, right, in our heads, all that head trash, and then finally getting that vision. And I think it was Lisa Nichols that always said, if people don't buy into your vision, don't worry about it, because God gave it to you, not to them, right? And to just own that and step into that, which is not easy. It's not easy. So now you've got this vision, you decided, you know, yep, it's time. It's that aha moment, right? And so you moved through that process. Then talk about, as you begin to then build your empire, that whole idea of team, because you are people's team, but you had to build your team to be somebody else's team, right? So talk a little bit about that and how you moved through finding the people you needed and recognizing that talent and how you did all that.
So So I have to back up again into
Yes.
corporate because, you know, there were two things. I worked in the divisions in any of those organizations. I worked in their logistics divisions.
Okay.
Okay. So supply chain, North American logistics, all of them were different than what you would think of as North American van lines or
Right.
UPS Brown, as we used to call it.
Right.
um,
Right.
and or UPS package, as
Right. Right.
as the world probably
Yeah.
understands it and knows it. So here's the big thing with that, and the crucial piece to that is that we in logistics primarily, aside from our in-office employees, dispatchers, and the like, we had independent contractors that we dealt with. All of our drivers were
Right.
all independent contractors. Okay. And so I ran a division in all of these cases that were, I got into this world of the SSL. Okay. So the SSL is the strategic stocking location. So we had large computer companies that would stock computer parts because they had a client that was within a certain amount of miles that they had to service if one of their registers went down or one of their computers or servers went down. And so what would happen is they would get a call for something being down, and then they would contact us and say, okay, based on what I've talked to them on the phone, I think I need this part, this part, this part, and this part. So that we would pull all of those and meet the technician there. And that's what would happen. Now, when you're dealing with independent contractors that they don't have to do anything. Right. There's no, the only criteria is that you have to ask, and they can decline. Right. So think about a dispatcher's job and how difficult it is, because they have to go from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. Right. And for somebody to take these parts. Right. And so we got into this really like intense world. And I'm telling you, I spent enough times doing depositions, being in the court for, people who would threaten us, that all kinds of things that would happen. So that was, for me, was like this amazing education. Yes. Huge education. Yes. So when we started the business, we started with 100% independent contractors. When I started this business, it was 100% on independent contractors. And I started to realize that I couldn't control the quality of what I was delivering. And I couldn't control the culture that I wanted to create that was different. So, again, way after the partner had left, I moved to employees probably around 2015 is when I really started to kind of figure out, I got to do this a little bit different. Actually, it was earlier than that, because Julie, who is my longest employee, and I think she's been here almost 7 years. Wow. So, a lot of now it's probably not most, but a lot of my employees started as independent contractors, and then we transitioned them to employees. What I will tell you is that the ability to be able to have a constructive conversation about their performance and what they need from me in order to perform at a higher level is so much easier as an employee. Yes. It's so much easier. I know there's a ton of people who think that having employees is a really a big hardship for companies. I will tell you that the hardship is when you can't treat them well.
Right. Right.
You have to be able to hear them.
Right.
You have to be able to understand them. And I didn't always do that well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have an amazing operations manager. I mean,
yeah.
I tried to get Steph to work for me for 5 years before she actually
right.
I knew
He's
her
incredible.
through my best friend, and she was amazing. She was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I knew she would do phenomenal at this job.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are my keys.
Yeah.
Having somebody who has a lot of the same beliefs, but has a very different demeanor and skill set than I do.
Yes. Yes.
Because a lot of my harshness, while it's toned down, is still
we are
owner
who
of
we
the
are.
company.
Yes.
And it's part of my personality, you know, quite honestly, like, you know, I'm careful and cautious because I know the HR world enough to know I don't want to put myself in any kind of trouble or dangerous situation.
Right.
And I try to get my clients to see that, right? Yes. So as I've built my team, you know, it starts from leadership.
Absolutely.
We have the amazing team that we have today because of Steph. Yeah. Because of who she is and how she sees the world versus how I see it. Right. You know?
Yeah. I get that.
That's what I needed from the beginning. I didn't need a partner. I needed somebody who was going to be different than me. Yes. But be able to hear me and say, well, I disagree with you because of this. Right. Right.
And still support the overall vision, but maybe a different how, right? A different path.
Right. And again, going back to my UPS days, one of the things that I appreciated very much from that organization, I had amazing mentors and amazing bosses. I will tell you right now, with a handful, because UPS had a lot of changes, so I probably had like a dozen different immediate managers. Yes. I will say that less than 10% of them were awful. I can name all of them for you because they had such an impact on my life and who I am today. Yes. So I want to have that same kind of impact on my team, but I want to do it from the perspective of giving them freedom. Right. Giving them autonomy with structure. And giving them the ability to speak to somebody, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's you know, Steph, to speak their mind and say what they feel. Right. And that, you know, building structure around having a weekly team meeting. You know, Steph has weekly check-ins with each of them one-on-one. You know, really making sure that the opportunities for them to speak up are there. Right. Because that's what I got taught. You know, one of my, I you know, I received a lot of accolades in my corporate career, but there's only one award that sits on my shelf. Yeah. And that award was given to me because we had a center with almost, it was just under 80 employees in that center. And we had the highest percentage of promotions out of my center.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that's something I'm proud of because it makes me understand that I created an environment that allowed for people to know that they could do more, be more, and fulfill what they wanted.
Right.
So that's the only thing that matters to me, you know? And so as things kind of progress here, I'm hopefully creating that kind of situation as well.
See, and that's so amazing, because I think we forget that. I've told people often, I said, you as leaders, you need to care more about the success of the people that are working for you than you do about your own. Because by pouring into them, you are pouring into you, you're pouring into your business. It's all about service. And so that ability to recognize our own flaws, to have the courage and the humility to hire for our gaps and weaknesses, just like you said with Steph, right? She is different. She gets your vision, but her perspective on the world, the way she sees it, is different, which makes it work, you know. But you have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to be honest. You have to be willing to have somebody who knows stuff that you don't know and may do some things better than you do that. And it's okay, because none of us knows how to do everything perfectly, you know. So I think it's just been such a great lesson, right, to learn. And so if you think about that, then Bibi, so this idea of really understanding how to build the business going forward, and having had to go through the whole partnership thing to get back to your own confidence, and then all the lessons you learned about building team and how to engage people and make people feel like they have options. Because I'm with you. I think I want to support people, and I want to give you wings to fly. Let's talk about what you need, and then you go do, and then just keep me posted. I don't want to be surprised by something that was supposed to be done. You know, don't call me on the date something's due and say, oh, not going to get it done. But if you talk to me along the way, we can probably fix some stuff and learn something as well. But if you look at all of this stuff that you've done and where the business is now, and even all the stuff you've gone through with COVID, like we've talked about, you know, how are you converting people, not converting people? How are we going to go through this? There's so many business owners are doing. What would you say, either the top one or two lessons that you have learned as a business owner about you and about what it really means to be a business owner?
So I will say that the biggest lesson I've learned about me is I'm somebody who appreciates getting caught up in life so I don't have to think about what's wrong.
Yes.
So in the era of COVID,
yes.
Everything has stopped.
Yeah. Yes.
The world has stopped, in essence. We lost a ton of business. We had to let some people go. We had to make some tough decisions.
Right.
I don't have a problem making tough decisions. That was something else I learned about myself.
Right.
You know, I had one of my wonderful bosses at UPS, Craig. He used to tell me that letting go of someone gave them an opportunity to be where they needed to be and where they wanted to be. So I never looked at firing somebody as a bad thing.
Right.
You know, so I was grateful for that lesson because I recognized that as a business owner, however, I will tell you that I probably held on to people longer than I should have. Because, you know, whether it's a business owner or being a woman, I don't know what it is. I felt like I could save them. I could fix them. I could help them. You know? And that wasn't the case. You can't.
Right.
You can't. And so, you know, because my team has to be adaptable to be everybody else's team,
right?
They've got to feel comfortable in who they are and where they fit in to that other person's team, to your team, right? They have to feel comfortable saying, you know, I'm part of the resource.
Yes.
I can help you.
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
And the only way to do that is for them to feel comfortable with who they are. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, I would say that those are probably some of my biggest lessons is, my business coach tells me all the time, hire slow, fire fast.
Yes. Yes.
And I've
Yes.
heard that
Yes.
out of your
Yes.
mouth too.
Yes.
Right? It's
Yes.
like, it's getting to that place for you that and you understand what your limitations are.
Right.
And how you hire for them. My team will see it all the time in our group chat.
Yes.
Hey guys, does anybody know how to do this? I don't.
Right.
Can somebody help me answer this question? Like that's the kind of stuff. But they'll also see from me, hey, what's happening in our service inbox?
Right.
Can
what's going
somebody
on?
please get in there? Because you have to appreciate the fact that they've got their heads down and they're working on a project and they haven't looked up to look at the email. And I do appreciate that. And so that's why they're going to get those reminders.
Yes. Right.
Steph will be much more gentle with her reminders than I will. But that's okay. Again, it's a yin and yang thing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then I think that the other lesson that I would say is going back to the whole vision and goals. I think you can see this on my wall.
Yep.
So this is a quarterly calendar that my business coach has me put together. 3 goals every quarter.
Right.
The resources I need to make those goals happen. And then the steps that I'm going to take. So that's the 3 across.
That's awesome.
And every year since I have done this, which has probably been the last 4 years, I have not only met my revenue goals, I have surpassed them.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll see what happens in the year of COVID.
Right. Right.
This year was supposed to be our $500,000 mark,
Yeah.
And, my team knows what's on this.
Yes.
My team sees this because without them, I can't reach that.
Exactly.
And so I would say those are the 2 lessons that I've learned that keep this engine going.
Yes. Yes. And I think, it's really important for people to hear how important team is. So whether you're building a team for your business, as Bibi has done, or you heard her talk about her coaches, and you heard me talk about coaches, whether you're building your personal team, your personal village, it is important to have people around you who, one, understand what your goals are. So if you can't articulate them and explain them to someone else, you don't understand them well enough yourself. So make sure you're clear on what your goals are, but that you have people who can help you get there, because none of us gets through this life alone. None of us. So find your team, invest in the right team, and be willing to make the hard decisions and be willing to have the conversations. And at Bibi, I just know from my experience that just as a leader and having worked with so many leaders, your ability and Steph's ability to really set very clear expectations, right? And to hold people accountable for those. Yes, both, directly, but also lovingly and nurturing, all of that good stuff, because you don't have to be ugly to be candid, right? They don't have to be the same thing, but it's really important to be clear about what those expectations are. And especially when like with you, they're virtual, right? So they're not sitting there in your face all the time. So being able to be really clear, I think, is important. So understanding the importance of team, how to be clear for your goals and clear for theirs, and then creating the culture that you want, right?
Yeah. And I think that I would extend that out to your personal world as well. Look for the support and the mentors in your personal world. There's always learning experiences, and there's always, my husband's an educator. He worked in the classroom and now is writes textbook curriculum. Really exciting stuff in math.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Yeah.
but he's one of those people that is just so voracious about learning. He reads, he's a music savant, like the stuff that he knows, like, you know, and the stuff that he holds in his brain, I'm like, it's occupying space. Does that really need to occupy space there? But you know, like, you have your family, you have your brother, your mom, you have these people who are beautiful people in your life who support what you do.
Absolutely.
And they're the people who, when you need to have a gut check, they're the people that you go to.
Yes.
And you got to have that.
Yes.
You got to have that. I have the most amazing best friend, the most amazing husband. I have, you know, the majority of my siblings are like incredible parts of my life, you know, that I can go to and talk to. And I think that that's an important piece that we miss as business owners.
I agree. And it is so important. And it's important to have those people, you know, the family and the best friends, those people that are really close to you, and your professional people in your career who are really good mentors. And they may ultimately be really great friends, but they're also going to tell you the truth. And they're the ones that are going to pull your coattails, or they're the ones going to say, you might want to rethink that, with love, but with clarity, because they are concerned and care for your success. And so seek out those people. Don't seek out people who are just going to be nice to you. You want to seek out those people who are going to lift you up, the people who are going to add, right? You want the nice people too, because we all need people to tell us, you know, we're beautiful. But you need the people when you're really moving and shaking. You need people who are going to say, yeah, let's not do that again, right?
You do. And, you know, it's super important. Like, I will tell every one of the people who are watching this right now, if you hire somebody and you pay them and they don't challenge you, you might as well take that money and flush it down the toilet.
Exactly.
Okay? Because if you're like, and you know this from working with Inspired Living and Carrie, and, you know, you always know when the words come out of Carrie's mouth that says, I say this with all the love.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you know what's coming next from Carrie.
Right.
Right? Like, you have to be challenged.
You have to be. And you know, we've talked a few times when I was putting some things together. I'm like, Bibi, I just got a block. I've got a block. And you're like, okay, but here's what you said you wanted. So if you're not doing this, you're not going to get here. So, and even as we looked at this new thing that's going to be coming out, you're like, okay, so we want to make sure we stay on this because I don't want you to get blocked again. And it was so right, because I could feel it. I'm like, I don't know, maybe not, maybe. And then I thought, you know, forget it. This just, all it can do is not be what I want it to be. And then you just learn from that and keep moving, right? And just do something different next time.
It's about hiding and it's about fear, right? So absolutely. That's where we kind of go into that same place that we talk about, you know, you know, when you don't know, for instance, in my business, people don't know what to delegate first. So then they just kind of don't do anything. Right? When you're in your situation where you're trying to build something with all the expertise and the knowledge that you have in that beautiful head of yours to share with the world.
Why am I doing my own videos?
It's like, it's that hiding piece, right? It's that, it's like, you know, the only way I can liken it to was, I heard this talk at one point, and she referred to it as a snail, right? So if you've ever watched a snail go back inside its shell, she goes, it's almost like watching a woman retreat when success starts to happen. Right?
That's
and
good.
You can see it, you're watching it, and it's happening, and nobody's like making a loud enough sound.
Right.
For it to
say,
stop.
Stop it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's the part, you know, the lack of confidence that we have, that we can do this. But you, me, any of us who have worked in corporate, if we had to go stand in a room and choose somebody out about something, we would go in there and we would do it.
Right.
No fear.
No fear.
We would do it
but because with our own stuff. Yeah.
It's not our own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's something for you that like has been beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
Is just seeing you do, you know, sharing your expertise with the world is as much for you as it is for them.
Thank you, Bibi. I appreciate that. And I would not be here. Honestly, I believe in having a village, and you know that. And I would not be here. And just, you know, guys who are listening, I'm telling you, even when you don't think you have enough money to do it, really go back and look at where you are spending and where can you go get some assistance. I remember, so I have my website. Infusionsoft is what I use for my back end. So that's basically the thing that does all of the, you know, email and keeps my mailing lists, and it's connected to the Keep and Appointment Core, and, you know, so people can get paid. And I will never forget the very first meeting I had when I was getting ready to get stuff set up, and Bibi was on the call, and Dave was on the call, and I said, I get it. I understand. But I need to understand how this works. So I need you to walk me through how you set it up and how, I type A, right? I'm like, this lack of control of not knowing. And I remember as soon as we got on the call and Dave pulled up his screen, he's like, well, here's this. I was like, yeah, no, never mind. I'm going to trust you, because what I recognized in that moment was I can absolutely learn this because I'm not stupid, right? And we've learned a bunch of stuff, and I could easily go in and figure out how to set up all the campaigns and make sure things are flowing, and I could do that. And it made absolutely no sense for me to go in and figure that out when you guys already had it. It made no sense. I could spend more time figuring out the other stuff I wanted to do and just know the back end was working. Because if I didn't do the stuff I needed to do, it didn't make sense to even have a back end because nothing was going to come through there anyway. Right. So it's just, but it was hard. It was so hard. And I had a number of those conversations. Why are you editing your own video, Laurel? Why are you putting this up on the website, Laurel? Why are you? And I'm like,
well, it's the same thing, right? That you talk about. Okay. And the reason why you work with people who are, you know, feeling like they're in a rut, right? Like, what are those things that you tell them? Like, what brings joy to your heart? Exactly. If posting your blog on your website brings joy to your heart, then do it. Yeah. By all means, do it.
Right.
But if it doesn't,
right.
Find people.
Exactly. And
that it does.
Really examine, like what Bibi was saying is when she said she had to own her part in this, really examine why it is you're doing what you're doing. Really be honest with yourself about why you are choosing to post that video and edit that video and do all that kind of stuff that is just busy work. And for me, what I recognized was part of it was the type A and just fear, right? Of not knowing, and pardon me while I plug my computer in because I refuse to lose this. Part of it was wanting to have enough knowledge. Let's say if you're out 100%, probably 15% of it was wanting to have enough knowledge just in case somebody didn't get something done when I needed to get done. I wouldn't be stuck. But 85% of that was, you know, I know my creative process, and I know that there's sometimes things just happen to me. They just come up, and I want to know enough that even if it's not perfect, I can at least get it out there, and then we can fix it later. Because I also heard, you know, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction, right? So just getting it out there. But then I realized, Laurel, you don't need to know Infusionsoft. You don't need to know WordPress. You don't need to know any of that stuff. But you do need to know how to at least place stuff on Facebook, and you know how to do your videos, and because then you can have somebody else do it, and you understand what you're asking people to do. Because if it took you this long and you don't have their level of expertise, but you understand what it takes to get a level of quality, then when you're asking and buying something, you have a base knowledge to know what to ask for and know what to look for. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Number one, don't be afraid to figure out what it is you need. And as Bibi said, be sure when you're looking at team that you're really thinking about the team that's going to get you to your goals. Know your goals and then hire the team that's going to help you get there. Bibi, you are amazing.
I could talk to you forever.
I know. Oh, me too. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I am just, thank you so much for doing this. And thank you for being such an amazing coach, amazing support for your amazing team. I just, every time I look at some of my stuff, I just like tear up. I'm like, I can't believe I have a website. And it's got a picture on it, you know, it's incredible. And just the care and the support and the true investment that you and your team make in your clients is invaluable. And so I appreciate it. Just as one of your clients, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking the time to be on the Rutledge Perspective. And
thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you so much. My team loves working with you. I don't know if it's because of what you do or because of just who you are, but the amount of praise and the manner in which you treat the entire team with so much respect is what makes them want to be part of your team.
I love it. I love them. I mean, they're just fantastic. They are fantastic. And I really want you guys, please look up Buying Time. So when we post this, you're going to see Bibi's information. So Buying Time LLC, you'll see that. You'll see her full bio. So you'll get that. I'm telling you, do yourself a favor, check her out, check out her team. It is one of the best things you will ever do if you're really building a business. And check her out too, especially if you're in the Bay Area, in the organizations that she's in. If she's going to be speaking or facilitating something, be sure to check it out because there's always going to be some good information there. And here, you know, it's all about perspective. So make sure you're going to get different perspectives so you can solidify your own. And with that, we're going to call this episode to an end of the Rutledge Perspective. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next week. Take care.